Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing Satanic Hispanics. Ooh, indeed. All right, with me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to refrain from saying any of the quotes I was going to use from the movie. But anyway.
Well, wow.
I'm like a quote from the
people
movie.
already think I'm so weird. I just
That's not a bad thing.
Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. How are you, pumpkin shirt woman?
I'm good. It is that time. But so I have this Dia de los Muertos like statue that I meant to bring. I'm really good at these intros. I was gonna like bring it up because it reminds me of the demon, but I forgot it. So you can just imagine it in my hand.
It really doesn't work as well, but let's go with
awesome.
that. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr.
What do you have in your hand?
a hammer.
Why does? Oh my gosh! Yeah, the hammer of Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hola,
pegging,
Senor Rotten. Hope you're doing well.
Sí, ¿cómo está usted? Estoy bien. That's what we would say. That's about all. That's 4 years of Spanish. That's
I'm still working on it.
Yeah. All right. What we're going to do here tonight is embarrass ourselves. Now, we're going to review the movie Satanic Hispanics or Hispanic Satanics. I don't know what I'm saying. Satanic Hispanics. We are going to give you our first impression. Those first impressions will be spoiler-free. And then we'll dive into a discussion about this anthology film, a lot to discuss. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like and subscribe and share with a friend buttons. They're easy.
It.
Yeah, they're easy and free to do. Each click helps us find more horror fans just like you.
Just like you.
It's easy.
All right. It's easy.
It's free.
And it's free. It's one click. It's just a click. Just a click. Hit the click. All right. Let's look at the card and get things going. All right. Satanic Hispanics 2023 from Epic and Dread. Available in theaters beginning September 14th, 2023. Synopsis is: when police raid a house in El Paso, they find it full of dead Latinos. Why is that funny? I don't know. But only one survivor, known as the Traveler, he is taken to the police station for questioning. There he recounts tales of horrors from his life, chronicling portals leading to other worlds, mystical beings, demons, and the undead. He speaks of legends from Latin America. Satanic Hispanics tell stories from top Latin filmmakers that showcase the skills of Hispanic talent, both on and off the screen. Directed by Alejandro Brujes, maybe? Mike Mendez, Damian Runa, Gigi Salguero, Eduardo Sanchez, Damian Runa. I'm sorry.
Well, that name was twice. It's
twice. I said it twice.
Yeah, so you have it.
He directed
it there, and then
he worked twice as hard. I literally took 4 years of Spanish, and one thing I could never do was pronounce everything. I could write it like crazy. Written by Peter Barnstrom, Alejandro, no, you know what I mean, Mendez, Lino Cavila, and a cast that includes, more embarrassment, Efren Ramirez, Jonah Ray, Emke Madeira, Patricia Vasquez. Vasquez. Where did Vasquez come from? I just lost letters. Greg Grunberg. People. Lots of people. We're moving on.
Gallegos, Jacob.
Why am I having so much trouble?
It's okay. You try, and that's what matters.
I kind of gave up. All right, let's get into
that's true.
our review. We'll start off with Crystal. Crystal, what was your first impression of this film?
I love this film.
Yeah.
This film is so fun. So the first scene, I honestly just saw, I saw the trailer, and so it was, I did kind of have some expectations going in, but I feel like the first scene immediately lets you know what you're about to watch, because they relentlessly shoot this guy so many times. Every time he moves because he's attached to someone, and it's so dumb. And I really enjoyed it. Okay. So it's funny. I feel like all of the segments were strong. Usually with an anthology, you know, there's some you like, some you don't like. And yeah, I have some that I preferred, but all of them I enjoyed. And that's kind of unusual. I liked them all. So that's a wonderful thing. I think Efren as the traveler is amazing. There's a lot of homages to all different types of horror movies in here. The wraparound is fantastic. Efren's in it as the traveler, and oh my god, I love the monster. Now, I'm not giving anything away because it's on the poster, so whatever. But it looks sweet. It looks really sweet. I think
it has more than one look, actually. So
yeah. Oh yeah, and it's even creepy in the first incantation as well. I think that I know they had a low budget. I didn't feel like it was really low budget. I think they were clever in the way they shot a lot of things. I think there were some things that were really creepy. I feel like a lot of the stories, like that first story was like, it's like I saw it too, is what it was really cool. It's such a weird idea with this. I think that they did an excellent job. I won't go into too much because it's supposed to be first thoughts, but yeah, the acting was great. I feel like the cinematography, I feel like the stories flowed well together and they looked like put together in a well thought out anthology. I think everyone did a great job in their respective roles, and I thought it was fun. I mean, it's not as campy as some others, but I definitely laughed in some spots.
Yeah, there are some campy spots though.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, sir, what was your first impression of Satanic Hispanics?
I like most of these directors. I'm going to say off the top of my head, I don't know if I'm familiar with all of them, but definitely Mike Mendez, Gigi Salguero, Eduardo Sanchez, and I think Damian Rugna, but I don't know for sure. The name just seems really familiar, and I didn't have time to look it up. But I enjoyed every one of them. The one that the fourth one, I think, had me a little confused, but I think that was a cultural issue that I didn't quite understand. The Nahualas.
Oh, Nahualas.
Yeah. But it was beautiful. I mean, and well done and all that stuff. I just think I was missing out on some of the cultural aspects of it. God, I don't have a whole lot else to say. You know, there's a lot of effects in it, but I think a lot of it was in, dimly lit situations. So it wasn't real obvious how much of it was CGI and how much was practical. Anyway, I enjoyed every one of these, including the music in the last one, the thing about I'm going to kill you. And then when the guy gets, I don't think this is a spoiler, but in one of them, these cops are talking to the traveler and they say, well, I bet that guy got, spent some time in jail. And he goes, oh no, he was white. Oh yeah. Well, if he was white, everybody just went along with that. Gringos get off. So, without talking specifically about any particular thing, I really loved them, especially, you know what? Well, I guess we'll probably name favorites later. So I'll hold on to that.
All right. That sounds like a positive one to me. Christopher G. Mohr, what was your first impression of this film, sir?
Well, this is definitely, I love anthologies. I think some, Mortuary Collection, Nightmare Cinema. There's been a lot of great anthologies we've seen in the last few years. And a few of these have actually directed things and other things, like Tales of a Halloween, like Mike Mendez is part of that. And Alejandro Brugués, he did a thing for Nightmare Cinema, which is one of the best segments of Nightmare Cinema, in my opinion.
I just noticed he did Puka Lives, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I loved Puka.
Sorry.
And I love this. Now, I will say, maybe it's just because the filmmaker in me, there's like one segment that definitely the quality of it is not up to par to everything else, and that's the vampire one. But I still enjoyed it despite the problems with color correction throughout. But that's mainly just the nitpicky filmmaker in me. But I overall enjoyed this whole, even that segment. I enjoyed all of it because of the differing entertainments. And I disagree with Crystal. There's a lot of funny stuff throughout 3 segments of this. There's a couple of them that like are more serious. But I mean the first one, there's one part that made me creep me out. It made me jump. I was like, what? What the F is happening here? And then just other ones. I mean, this is one of the few times where the wraparound is just as good as everything else. The wraparound is almost like a supernatural version of parts of Terminator 2. if you watch this,
or that Tales from the Crypt movie.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like
well, because he does say you're gonna die. You're gonna live.
If Sarah Connor had some creepy figure coming after them that wasn't a robot, that's what this would be. And I think the ending is like amazing. And also Alejandro Brugues, his version is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And he's just great with that kind of stuff in general, because if you saw his segment in Nightmare Cinema, it was a lot of fun. And you can definitely tell his love for like Sam Raimi and just horror comedy in general. Because if you saw like one of the Dead, but yeah, overall, I think this is a well-crafted thing that has some really great stuff. Each filmmaker, I mean, even just as much as I'm nitpicking at Eduardo Sanchez is his because of the color correction or the quality of it. Just the funny aspect of having a vampire, dealing with like, the wife type character. And even Gigi's, I will say, I have to kind of agree with you, Jeff. I was kind of confused by the end of it. I wasn't exactly sure, but still the idea of it and the visuals of it were really cool because they actually shot it in like Mexico. Evidently they shot it in the same area where Apocalypto was shot. If you remember that Mel Gibson film. Only 2 films have shot there, Apocalypto and this film. But yeah, it's got some really great, wonderful things in it. But again, I think, from the creepiness of that first segment to the comedy of Mike Mendez's or Alejandro's segments, overall, I think this is a great success. And also just seeing a anthology told from a different perspective, involving a lot of different supernatural or things from different parts of the world involving Latino culture and stuff was kind of cool. And also just seeing parts of Latino culture that aren't the normal tropes and stereotypes that we normally see in films when it involves like horror and Latinx characters. So, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
I got to interrupt for just a second, Doc. Damian Ruña wrote and directed Terrified, which was one of my favorites for that year, 2000.
Well, that explains the creepiness of this segment.
Was that the first one?
Yes.
I loved God. Yeah, that was my favorite, I think.
Well, I enjoyed this quite a bit, and the film that it reminded me of was Demon Knight more than Terminator.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because of the
Billy Zane.
Yeah. But the what I liked about the wraparound story is that it grew. It grew as it went along. Right, it told a little bit more about the character and added elements to that would play into the finale. So I really enjoyed this quite a bit. Each segment has its own flavor and tone, but yet doesn't feel disjointed from the rest of it. They all feel and I think it might help that it was all written by the same crew as opposed to individual writers trying to put it together. Maybe that is part of it. Regardless, this is one of the better anthology films to come out. Tonally, with the comedy when it's heavier versus when it's not, I felt it was a little uneven in that respect, but at the same time, it didn't make me dislike what I was watching. It just made me notice that because when it was like, you know, the vampire one is you know, a lot of tongue in cheek, really campy, and then other ones are a little bit more serious, and then well, there's the hammer thing, which actually goes in a totally different kind of campy direction.
Hilarious.
You know, even with the you know the and Quentin Tarantino thing popping up. So
dude.
Yeah. So I in a lot of ways, I really respected and enjoyed that part of it. You know, that each one had that flavor to it. So I recommend this movie straight out of the gate. This is definitely one. This needs to be a thing. This needs to be an annual.
I would like to see another one.
Yeah.
I think they
just
should make
more stories like this. Yeah. Now the pressure's on. So let's get into some spoilers because there's a lot. I suppose that we should lead off with the hammer story. Does anybody want to jump on that loosely?
What about it? Exactly, loosely, dear God. Want to jump on that? Oh, grande Mattia and the pantalones.
Wow.
I feel like this would be my close second because it's hilarious. It's really funny. And I think it's clever. And I like how it starts off with the mystery science dude, Jonah. I'm sorry.
Jonah Ray.
Oh, is that what, is he from then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He's the
host. I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So at first I was like, wait, oh God, what is he doing? And so he plays this like meek character at first. I like how his character is not meek at all. And you find that out as you go along.
Yeah, he kind of is.
He kind of is, a little bit. But I think it, like you said, like that actually propelled the wraparound, which is really great and cool. I enjoyed that a lot. Honestly, that's probably my second favorite. I'm trying to I could rank them all, but really they're all pretty freaking
I mean, I liked the gimmick of it, right? The whole hammer thing. What was the hammer? What? Zanzibar.
Zanzibar.
Yeah, but that, I mean, the whole gimmick of it leading, but even before then, without it,
when the dude was talking about the dude from Next Friday. He's also from Next Friday.
Oh, the guy that was
the gangster
that showed up and he told
the story. He's like, and then he started. Then he was inside me. I was like, oh my God, yes. That's really funny.
And, the reaction to it was hilarious too.
Well, and they had post-mortem with Mick Garris did an interview with him and Mike Mendez, and he talked about that the demon they talk about is an actual real demon, and he's like, this is the craziest demon. Why has nobody ever made a story about this? So it's kind of loosely based on a real demon type thing.
The one that
San La Muerte, I think. San La Muerte.
The one that has the Zanzibar, or the one that shows
Zanzibar.
Okay.
Oh,
because they're different, right? I mean,
that's a different one.
Or other.
Yeah. So okay, so I have a question though.
Yeah, Popo.
Because apparently that demon died, right? But when he shot San La Muerte with the bullet, it looked like it just got released. What is that? I don't understand what that's about. Does that mean that it's not dead?
Well, I don't know, because he shot it with the special gun and the special bullet, right?
But you saw it just come up and leave.
Unless
I thought it just sort of evaporated.
I thought he sent it back to hell, is what I thought.
So that's got to start over.
Why when they come up to him, he said, "Well, if you don't let me go,"
because it's always chasing him. So somehow or another, it sent him back to wherever. Sent him back to go. Do not collect $200.
Reset.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So it's not dead. It doesn't die. Right. It just gives him.
But neither does he. So
some time.
Unless he catches him.
Yeah, but he's not going to catch him. That's not a good story.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's true. Wow. That's not a good story.
All right. So the vampire one is, like you said, Christopher. Visually, it's not necessarily the strongest one, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just because of our.
It was probably my lower one too.
Well, it's the most. It feels like the most scaled back. It almost feels kind of like it feels like one of those short films. Yeah, it
Yeah.
it feels very scaled back, and also just visually, it just feels like it's a little bit more.
Well, I mean, even like the special effects look, you know.
Yeah, the head was pretty.
But they made fun of that, right?
Right.
So it was part of the
the
shtick.
But it is and I think it's almost done that way on purpose, I guess. But and because the humor of it just feels like it's more of just a bit of like how we normally think Dracula being this seductive type character, and you have this sort of like almost like over the age this old sort of vampire, and he's got his wife nagging at him.
Yeah, Hemke Madera.
And
it was hilarious.
And just I mean, there's a bit involving him. He can only mesmerize one person at a time. So there's a bit where he has to keep going between the two. You know,
that was hilarious.
So there's some really funny.
Why can't he become a bat too? Like he can't become. He's like bat. Like is he having performance anxiety?
Yeah.
I mean, he
needs
just
to go to
drank
him.
all that blood.
He's old. He lost his.
He's got a bat tail dysfunction or something. But
he's got hymns for vampires.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's a funny bit, and I think that's why it kind of feels, because it feels so extreme in the campiness and the goofiness and the it almost feels like a skit you'd see on like SNL or something, you know?
Yeah, it does.
And that's why it kind of feels separate from everything, but at the same time, I do appreciate it. And again, what threw me is just there's parts where it would go between shots and the color corrections off back and forth. It was kind of grainy in parts because of that. And so that kind of pulled me out of it.
Hopefully that's just a screener. You know, they had
I didn't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's shot much differently than everything else. And evidently they all use different DPs and different, because I think he shot his like in Maryland or something. So I think that in itself kind of pulls it out. I think that's and as someone that did an anthology where people shot on different things, it's very noticeable when everybody doesn't shoot on different things, because certain things are much more high quality and stuff. And especially if he's shooting on the streets of Maryland or whatever, and with low light type cameras, it can really show off the low light problems that you might have in those situations. But that's just me as a filmmaker.
It's the only one that's all out humor. I mean,
yeah.
Everything else mixes it in there, but this is, I love it. It's probably a lot of dad humor.
Well, and it's still
pretty corny and pretty.
Again, it's one of those things to where like I can nitpick at that specific stuff, but I was still entertained by the idea of it and the characters in it.
The acting too.
Yeah, I mean, there was still like having a lot of fun playing those characters and how it plays out, and even how the bit at the very end, how it ends. It's still a lot of fun, despite it sort of being definitely much different than everything else, which you have some of them that incorporate the comedy, but they still have like the horror element, I guess. And this one just feels in the full on campy, horror comedy element.
Yeah. Which one is the scariest, do you think? Which one has the
my favorite was the first one.
The first one I think is the scariest, because it really
elaborate on what the first one is so everybody listening knows.
It's called I Saw It Too. I mean, that's in English. And basically it's about this guy who solves Rubik's Cubes. And so he sees patterns and algorithms. And apparently he comes up with this pattern or algorithm that he uses it sounds ridiculous, but it actually is very compelling. Okay. He uses his phone light. It sounds dumb when I say he uses his phone light to trace something, and then uses these lights to go on, and it's opening a gateway to
it feels like he's doing some form of magic, that he's figured out some kind of pattern. If you do this pattern, it creates a portal, and then things show up, and then at some point something shows up underneath the table, and I was like, oh, what? I think everybody else like, oh crap, what?
You're right. That's definitely the creepiest one.
Well, and everyone sees, I think, what they want to see, or not what they want to see, what it wants you to see, I think, because he saw his father and his sister saw him, which I think is more true than not. And then the other guy saw his mom. So,
well, and I think what makes that segment so effective is how he just deliberately only shows certain parts of it at certain times where you sometimes you don't. There's a few parts where you might get to see the full thing, but it's just briefly. But like there's like a really great bit where the guy's trying to touch it with an umbrella and the umbrella accidentally opens.
Yep, opens.
And then
it's
and then
such
you
a cool
just see from
yeah.
the corner of the umbrella, just the framing, the cinematography involved with just the framing of this creepy thing that's there is so well done, you know, and even how he tries to fix the situation, it doesn't end exactly how he sees. But yeah, I think it's a really, really, really brilliant and cool idea. I don't think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Involving just, you know, somebody who loves solving, you know, Rubik's cubes and finds out a way that he can just sort of open up portals he probably shouldn't.
Got a nice pop gag in there too.
Yeah.
and then the next one is the vampire story. That's all you really need to know about that. It has a vampire in it. The next one after that is the one that was in Mexico, right?
The Nogales.
Nogales, right?
Yeah,
and
Nogales.
the earth creatures, I guess. Okay, so the lady is really effective. So,
I love
a lot of
she
attention
like,
to what she's saying.
Yeah, and that looks so
it's
sweet.
hard. It's so visual, but if you don't pay attention to the subtitles, I had no clue what was going on. So then when I watched it where I'm just reading the subtitles, I had a better idea of what the whole mythology was. But it was tough to follow without knowing Spanish, without seeing it almost a second time, because it was.
I wasn't sure what the
so
thing in the walls were. Did you guys know what that was, or?
No. I don't know if it. Okay, so like apparently this creature can like shape shift and stuff. So I don't know. I couldn't understand for sure if she was supposed to be it or the thing in the wall was. So I was a little bit confused, but I really liked it. I liked the feeling of it, you know, and I do think the visuals were cool. I feel like it is the most different of all of them, but not necessarily that it doesn't fit. It just felt different. Well, and maybe it was just to bring us down from the vampire one, you know.
Well, and I think up for the next one, right? So.
Well, and I think that's what I kind of like anthologies where all the stories aren't the same type of story, you know.
Yeah,
I think you know, they can still be kind of connected and still have horror elements, but every story I think has a different, sometimes might have a different tone or different approach, or even, you know, or it can even be more weird, you know. That's fine. And as much as I didn't understand half the things that are happening in that one, I still enjoyed it and appreciated the visuals of it, you know.
Well, and I think they did a great job laying them out, you know, because they start out with that traveler, create this mystery, and then we have the second one. I see it also, or however that was, or I see it too. I see it too. I also saw it, and then that's a real strong one. And then we hit El Vampiro that lightens it up, and then this one dives right back into the I don't know, sort of a thick, impenetrable plot almost. You know, I kind of get a general idea what's going on, but I kind of want to dig into that a little more. Yeah. And then we hit another kind of off the wall one with
the next one?
the Sword of Zanzibar.
Oh yeah,
hammer.
That's my favorite one.
Kind of sword like.
And then the wraparound.
Well, even the wraparound.
The
wraparound. I'll say the reveal of the what was it? Was it Mother Muerte or Madre Muerte?
Both reveals. I like even the first one when the hat and everything looked cool. So.
Oh yeah, but just the final reveal of what the death character is.
Yep.
Just visually so freaking cool, and just the look of it, I was like, man, this is. I felt I got chills seeing that. I was like,
yeah,
because again, most of your wraparound stories are really not that great a lot of times. A lot of times they just throw stuff together to try to connect everything. And in this one, I think Mike Mendez, who had that idea in general of having a character who's like this, you know, immoral character who's seen all these different stories and creatures and stuff, and he has this knowledge. He's like definitely the crypt keeper of this.
And the objects,
yeah. And he can sort of give more understanding to that. But just the reveal of that's why I could also compare it to Terminator 2, because it feels like the Terminator coming and just killing everybody in the police department. But but just how that character is just visually cool. But yeah, just a really great way to end the anthology in general.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our score 1 to 5. Guess what they're going to be? And then a favorite scene. And let's go in the same order, which means, Crystal, you're up, please.
Okay. I'm going to give this a 4.25. That's super good for me.
That actually is really super good for you.
This probably will make it on my top 10. That's what I'm thinking. So that's pretty good. So there's lots of scenes, God, but I gotta take it. I gotta take the broken fingers. When he goes like that, and his fingers are like, I was like, okay. It's the way that, if you look at the way that was shot too, how they did like one take. So he probably was putting his hand on. He might have had it done because it was under the table. But I was like, it was very clever. It was very cleverly shot. But it looked very painful. And I weird broken fingers and stuff are super creepy for some
Especially
reason.
when you got to try to pop them back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes all that noise. And they sold it. They sold it absolutely perfectly well. Yeah, good job. Jeff, your score, your favorite scene.
I feel like I got to go higher than Crystal because she's Crystal.
What?
Well, no, she's hard.
Because you know that I'm always hard. Yeah, I am.
You know, I think this is going to be my top 10 too. I'm going to go 4.25 though. And favorite scene is the closing scene of. I also saw it. Yeah, I love that. It was the whole thing was a WTF segment, and then the ending was WTF too.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And the way he was creepy behind the dude. It was creepier when you watched it, when you saw it again. It's so interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Christopher, what's your score and favorite scene?
This gets a 4.5 for me. I probably would have given a full 5 if I don't know, something about the quality of the vampire one kind of threw me off. But overall, I still enjoyed that segment, enjoyed all the segments. As for favorite scene, I'm just going to have to say when he when he uses the hammer of Zanzibar, and then you find out like what the hammer of Zanzibar is. That reveal, I think, is so freaking hilarious and makes me kind of sad that I didn't direct that segment. That seems like something that
when they say put down your weapon, it's not a weapon.
It's not a weapon, isn't it? And then they cut him off. Oh my God. Alejandro has such a great grasp of horror and comedy within his segments. And he also does a really great job in telling stories. So just the reveal of that. I laughed so hard during the reveal. That segment's my favorite segment of the whole shish kebab.
Yeah, I liked when they had the title come up and it had that Tarantino moment. You know,
yeah.
It was like 6 months earlier or something like that. And then it said, here's what's his name. He's alive. For 4.5. I was going to go 4.25, but you guys talked me into 4.5.
Okay, 4.5.
Yeah, well, I'll go 4.5.
Y'all are traitors.
It's definitely going to be in the top 10. I agree with Crystal. It's worth it. What am I going to take if you guys took all the cool stuff?
There's lots.
Oh, there's tons.
There's tons.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons. I'm going to go with since you didn't take the reveal of the actual demon at the end with the headdress and it looked like a headdress. I don't know if it is a headdress. It might just be his head.
Totally was, and it had jewelry on, and that thing was beautiful.
It is remarkable. The nature of the effects, the design of the creature, the whole feel of it. I mean, it's in you. Okay, so
it didn't even move. Like nothing had to move on it, and you didn't care.
All it did was this.
Yeah, that's how attractive it was. So that's impressive.
Another thing that's impressive about it is it's in bright light. It's not even in atmosphere, and that's risky. That we've seen many of films where it's like that should not have been shown in bright light, but it was so beautiful though.
Yeah.
It really is. It's creepy. It's kind of scary. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
It's not going to scare anybody. It's not even shot that way. It's
Well,
shot
if that was right in front of you, it would scare you.
it was real. But I mean, in the movie, it's more of an action point of the story. But it is really a work of art. We're incredibly well designed. Whatever I was thinking of the movie at that point.
That.
I
hope somebody cosplays that. That's an amazing cosplay.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go. That's our review of Satanic Hispanics. It's out in theaters. Check it out if you can. This would probably be awesome in the theater. Let's hope that Christopher's complaint is just because of the screener. They didn't have time to correct it yet. Let's just hope let's just say that's what it is. But anyway,
still, again, it's me being filmmaker nitpicky, and it's still an enjoyable segment. Well,
tonally it stands out because it's so different
in more ways.
Yeah. But again, it's a wonderful part. I think it. I said it was uneven because of that, but at the same time, it's part of the charm of this because it has so many, layers and ups and downs and different tones that I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm giving it a 4.5. I don't know. All right, well, guys, we should stop. It's already after 30 minutes. Jeff, Christopher, Crystal, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, always fun.
Let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.